Kitten Features, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in a student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wayne in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. Wait a second. Am I not coming through? Wait, hello? Hello? I am. Why am I so quiet? I need to project.
I can hear you.
Okay, there.
Can I be heard?
Yeah, no, you're going out on everything. I just wasn't seeing it bounce like it should initially, so I was like, what's going on? It's just me.
Odd.
All right. No, I was just not. I wasn't projecting into the microphone like I should. So that was my problem. So it's all good. The technologies are working. That's just me. But welcome, everybody. You're listening at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on this Sunday, the 9th of July, 2017. So welcome to the show. I want to say welcome, Ken, for being on. As you can see, I'm back in the studio again this week versus last week where I was out at Denver Comic-Con and dealing with Wi-Fi over hotel internets, as happens. But I think we're doing all right. So welcome back, Ken. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty damn good. Good, sir. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. In fact, I'm doing good. I'm enjoying things. It's all good and started today, so happy and can't wait to get the rest of this show going. Let's see, and with that, let's go ahead and get started with a little bit of
functional deviations.
So, Ken, what have you been up to this last week that hasn't been so geeky?
Well, good man. A few things. I have noted them down for ease. First off, I had a traditional games night this week, and I've got another one planned for next week as well, which is good. I say traditional games, meaning kind of like tabletop, but I put it in speech marks in my notes, like traditional games night, because it kind of leaked into the video games category by playing some Jackbox games, which is kind of an oddity, right? Because it's like a group game where you won't have controllers, but you kind of like use your phone, and it's mainly... you use the technology as a means to play a tabletop game almost. It's kind of how it feels. So I always feel a little bit awkward saying that it's actually a tabletop game when it kind of isn't. It's also not a video game. But Jackbox Games is like a company, I think. And what they do is they create a bunch of games that require some creativity, group voting, and they create... the situation where there's a possibility for humor is probably the easiest way to describe it.
I was gonna say, for people who don't know, Jackbox came from the old series of games called You Don't Know Jack. Is where it first started.
Oh,
at.
sure, of course.
And they were a trivia game. The You Don't Know Jack series was a trivia game that you play against that had a very snarky announcer, which made it a lot of fun. His name was Cookie, I think is what they called him. Little bald-headed guy that you'd only see part of his face, and he had a great announcer's voice. And it was one of these first games that you played that it was all voiced. Like, every question was voiced, and it was on there. It was just super humorous and geeky, and so it was a ton of fun. And they've since gone on to take that Jack brand and turn it into a social, multiple people playing together, kind of multiple types of games versus just the trivia game. And thus, they made the Jack boxes. I think there's 3 of them out right now, and all of them are these kind of party games that you can play with others. And with at least the newest one, or maybe the last 2, they have the great feature where you can log into the website or start the game, and it puts out a code, and everybody moves their phones over to that site and puts the code in, and it connects them to the game. So what's beautiful about that is the multitude of people can all have their own controllers, which are their own phone devices, and being smart devices, it allows them to do more than just click a buzzer. They can in turn enter words, draw on it, things like that, which all play into the various kind of games that are connected in Jackbox. I'm a huge fan. If you do throw parties, stuff like that, and have access to your computer or a system that has Jackbox in it, in your living room, something like that, it's a great party game. Anyhow, continue, Ken.
Thank you. So yeah, that's a good overall description of it. Played a few of those. There's different bundles you can get. I think there's like 3 or 4 different bundles, and each one comes with a set of games, or sometimes the same game but with new questions and the likes, to make it more fun and more expansive. So we played that, and that was good fun. We also played Catan, and I won, which was very good. I had a fantastic start at the very beginning of the game where I just had loads of resources. It was one type that I kept getting. It was like wood or something. And I ended up, every time it came to my turn, I had like 10 wood in my hand. Because GoHex can give you wood, back to that old Minecraft joke from years ago. And so very quickly I built a port in the wood port place. And then suddenly it was just like, okay, I can just do whatever I want. Nobody can stop me because they kept trying to block off my iron, and they tried to block off my wheat, and then they tried to block off my wood. But I had like multiple sources for wood income, and I was just unstoppable. And by the end of the game, I had 10 points, and everybody else had like a maximum of 3 or something. So I really flew right ahead.
That's such a good game.
Like a disease. So that was good fun. It's always good when you kick ass at Catan because it's very satisfying. That was good. Then on Friday night, on Friday during the day, I had a big boring work meeting. I'm not going to go into the boring details of, but they confirmed my time away, and I kind of wanted to just mention that to yourself, Mr. Wayne, and the audience, so that everybody knows what my plans are in the upcoming month or so. So I'm here for this show and the next 4, maybe 3, we'll see. Then I'm going to be away for 4 weeks. So I'm going down to Ipswich for a month for work. I will be there 2 Sundays out of the 4. That's a good point, actually. Sorry, it'll be 3 because I'll be back at the last weekend. So I'll be there for 4 weeks, but I'll only be there for 2 weekends because one of the weekends I'm coming home for. However, we'll see what happens with the show, etc. I imagine I'll want to do it when I'm down at the hotel, but the internet quality is not going to be great, and it'll have to be on my Mac as opposed to on this rig here. So it's going to be complex to do at the very least. We'll try to continue the show as normal. We'll see. Then straight after that 4-week period, I come back for a weekend, and then I fly off to a training session called NatCore, which is in Southampton, for like 5 days. So I'm away for a total of 5 weeks in a row. I have a couple of days back here and there. I have 2 weekends back in total, actually. And with the second weekend, me leaving at 3 p.m. to go get a flight. So it's going to be busy. August is going to be incredibly busy, and the start of September is going to be very busy. And then teaching starts. Ridiculous. So that's what's coming up there. Now I had a kind of hectic weekend. It was hectic. So
Okay.
Kitten and I decided that we wanted to go camping. Kitten's been having a tough time at work recently, and she was like, I really just want to go and have some time away and do something. And I was like, you know what, I totally agree. Let's go camping. We'll go relax somewhere. And we found this nearby loch that was like half an hour's drive, but it's in this beautiful area. And we looked online, saw that we could wild camp there. It's no problem. And so we went there, set up our tent, brought the dogs. We left the car, like we could see it from the tent, but we were right next to the loch as well. It was a beautiful little location.
Very nice.
A barbecue, some food, snacks, booze, etc. And we were sitting there for like an hour or 2 hours after we'd set up, and we were taking a few drinks. And I was cooking up some food. I grilled some salmon for Kitten, since she's a pescatarian, and I myself had some sausages that were rather lackluster, I have to say. We forgot the sauce, so it was rather everything was really dry. Wash all down with booze. What a shame. Now the problem is, of course, in the UK, the driving laws are pretty much don't drink and drive. You cannot have a single drink and drive, because there is a blood alcohol tolerance level. It's not 0, because obviously if you're drinking the night before or whatever, you may have a trace in your system, so 0 is dumb. But it is at a level where if you have a drink, you will not be able to drive. Like, just put it simply. So by this point, I'd had about 4 drinks, about a couple hours into this point. And Ken decided to go for a walk with the dogs while I continued to cook. And I heard a car roll up. And I turned around, and 2 policemen are walking towards me. And I'm sitting thinking, crap, what did we do wrong? Like, I know, we checked online, we're allowed to camp here. Technically speaking, drinking outside is technically illegal anywhere in the UK except for certain cities. Okay. And we're not currently in Edinburgh, so we're in the middle of nowhere. So but you know, it's in the middle of nowhere and you're camping. So generally, most people are pretty cool about it. They just say, what the hell? You're not hurting anybody. It's fine as long as you're not causing a ruckus. You're fine.
Gotcha.
So I put down my drink. I walk over and I sort of, hey guys, do you want a burger? trying to be cheery. And it turns out there were 2 really nice guys. They're very friendly, but they came over to inform us that they asked us if we had a permit, and I was like, fishing permit? And they said no. In the past 3 months, a new bylaw came in for the local area, and you need to pay to be able to camp for the night. However, you can pay for it online, and he told me the website, and I was like, I don't have a signal. I can't do it. And he's like, could you drive to the nearest town? And I was like, not legally. I was like, I can walk it. It's not too. It's like an hour's walk. I suppose I could if I have to. Thankfully, Kitten came back from the walk with the dogs at that point, and I got her phone, went online. It was only £3 for one night. I mean,
that's not too bad,
kind of ridiculous. Still. I just wish that instead of having to send the police around to check on people, some like ranger would come around and just take the money off people. Just be like, oh, it's £3 or leave, you know?
Well, so in most of our areas, they do that where if we have a camping location or a place you can go to, and you're going to be camping, they have an area at the beginning where you basically choose a site or whatever it is, or you get a permit and you pay up at a little box kind of thing. And you put it in an envelope and let it out with your information where you're going to be, and they can just check that. And so they don't even have to bother you. That's normally how they do it around here. So that's a little odd to me, but yeah.
It's a new law, so I imagine they're still ironing out how it works, etc. I suppose. So that was a little annoying, but we paid the £3. It was fine. They went on their way, and it was. I feel like I was quite lucky in that situation because they could have gotten us for the alcohol. They could have gotten us for not having a permit, but instead these guys were totally cool about it. They said to us, "Look, we don't care, but the Rangers will be around at some point tonight. Probably if you don't have a permit, they will check. So it's best that you just have one, just because then they will just send you out. They'll kick you out." And if you've been drinking, you can't drive, so you'll just be able to sleep off in your car, which is illegal. So I'd be stuck. Like I couldn't sleep it off in my car, and I couldn't get in my car, and I couldn't drive away because none of that's legal. So I'd have to just like put everything in the car, then go sit outside and wait. Pretty much. Yeah. So or call a taxi, I guess, for like a long journey. So it was actually very nice of them to come by. It was actually quite a good thing.
Okay.
So we carried on with our night, and we continued doing the camp stuff. We cook more, we drink more, we roast some marshmallows, we set a fire. We found this like half melted down barrel, which was just randomly nearby, used as a campsite before. Okay. So we just filled it with the coal that we had with us and some wood and loads of lighting fluid all over it, and just like threw down like a match, and it went woof. It was lovely. Nice big fire. That lasted for quite a while, and more importantly, it had a lot of white smoke came out of it, which was great because there was loads of midges, which are kind of like mini mosquitoes. I don't know if you have them in the US. They're very small. They're like this size. They're absolutely micro, but they're in swarms. They are literally thousands of them. So thankfully, the smoke kept them in the way, and that night was pretty much fine. The dogs kept jumping in the loch, however, which is a little bit annoying because they were sleeping in the tent with us. We wanted to keep them dry, but they kept going and chasing ducks and stuff, which was cute. So that was all fine, we thought. The thing is, Brutus, our second dog, the puppy, earlier in the week damaged one of his claws again, as he often does. His dew claw was fractured, so imagine your thumbnail, but right down the middle it had a big crack, right? That's what it looked like. Okay. And it was kind of inflamed and looked a bit sore. And we had it bandaged up and we had it all protected, but the thing is he kept going in the loch. Even though we kept trying to call him away and we did our best that we could, he kept going in it. So before the end of the night, I said, look, we're going to have to change his bandages. So I thankfully brought the first aid kit with us. So I undid it and I cleaned it as much as I could with just water, etc. TCP and antiseptic, etc. I cleaned it out and put the thing back on. I was like, that does look pretty bad. It didn't look great. It looked a little bit infected. And what's worse is Bruce started getting really, really tired. Now, he's a puppy. He really doesn't get tired. Okay. And as we were settling into sleep, he was KO'd. He was completely knocked out. So he was just unable to get up. He was unable to do anything, very lethargic. Even when I was kind of like shaking him and trying to wake him up and pull him away, he just didn't want to move. And that was really, really odd behavior for him. Okay. However, I couldn't really do anything about it. We did everything we could. We did the first aid, cleaned out the wound, bandaged him, got him into a warm location. We covered him in blankets and everything in the tent, and he was definitely warm. And he was next to us for body heat as well, so he was fine in terms of heat. We tried to keep him hydrated, and he ate a healthy meal and everything. He wasn't eating anything too weird. I mean, they went around drinking some water from the loch, but we thought that'd be okay because it's fresh water, etc. Yeah, but he's still a pup. The next morning, he's still pretty bad. He doesn't like to move, and he's limping really badly on that one paw now. And I'm thinking, oh crap, this is not good. So it was with 5:30 in the morning that we woke up. So we piled in the car, dismantled the tent, which, by the way, was really difficult because the midges overnight, when the smoke went away, they were waiting outside. There was just you couldn't breathe without swallowing some every single breath. And then once they realized we were out and we were actually putting the tent away, we started to sweat, and that probably attracted more. It got to the point where I couldn't even look. I couldn't open my eyes with them landing on my face and all around. It was horrible.
That
right?
disgusts me. Yes, no.
It was horrible. And what's worse is they're all drinking your blood. They're all over you and biting you.
You're not helping me, Ken.
Yeah, you're acting like a giant, like one of these I don't know. Greek Odyssey type films where the giant's slowly waving all the things away and it has no effect.
Yes.
You probably kill dozens and dozens, but there's thousands of them, so it doesn't matter. And that was kind of what was happening.
Oy.
Pile everything in the car, we drive off and we get home. On the way back, we pick up some salt because we need to clean out his wound a bit more when we get home. And salt water is the best thing for dogs. So we get home, give him some salt water, clean out his wound. We feed him, bathe him, etc. And he's still limping, and he can barely walk, so I had to carry him into the house, and I had to carry him to get bathed, and I had to carry him downstairs and upstairs constantly for everything he needed.
Ouch.
Made him go to the bathroom, and then we decided that we'd have a nice big family nap upstairs and see how he is after that. So we fell asleep for about 5 hours yesterday once we got back, and we woke up in the middle of the afternoon, and he gets up fine. He is perfectly happy. He's no longer lethargic. He's still got a bit of a limp, but he's okay. Take him downstairs, and he has some rather bad poops. But every time he poops, he gets better. That was all fine. And most importantly, his behavior was getting better. His nose was dry before, and then it started getting wet again. His gums became wet again, which means he was getting hydrated again, which is good. And we called the 24/7 vet hotline that you have here that costs £2 a minute or something. But you are talking to a professional, and she helped us through it, made us check him over, etc. And everything seemed fine. And her advice to us was basically give it another day and see what happens. And if it gets any worse, take him to the emergency vet type thing. So today rolls around, and we get up, and his poops have become super poops. They are double the size, double the smelliness, double the everything. And that's not the worst part. We woke up this morning about 7 a.m. to this coughing sound, this retching sound. Now, our diagnosis this far had been his claw got infected and it's in his bloodstream maybe, and maybe he's become sick from this infection, right? So we figured cleaning out the wound and letting his body heal and letting him be warm and resting would be fine for him. And he was still feeding. He wasn't really drinking very much, which was worrying, but he was still eating, which is a very good sign.
Okay.
And his behavior was getting better, so that was all important. But this morning, we woke up to a retching sound, and Kitten is screaming, "Ken, come here! What is that? What is that? Come here, come here!" So I sort of dive out of bed, half asleep, go over, and there was this thing, the same kind of color as Brutus's paw, but it's not attached to him. And I thought, oh god, he's chewed off his own paw.
Oh jeez.
I literally thought that, because this thing was this long, right? It was really long, and it was the same color, at least in my blurry morning state, I thought it was.
Gotcha.
Then I looked a bit closer, and I was like, wait a minute. What is that? It wasn't moving. It was moist. It was warm. And he was just coughing a lot. Turns out he regurgitated this huge log of grass. It was a foot long, and it was like think of really thick rope that you use to tug in a boat or something. It was like that, but I don't know how he threw it up. This thing was the size of my forearm. I don't know how he threw this whole thing up. It was crazy. It was disgusting.
And also found out he's now 5 pounds lighter, but.
Well, yeah. Well, and then that's the thing. We then take him out to the toilet and see how he's doing, see if he still wants to eat and drink, etc. And he is happy. Suddenly he's happy as can be. He's running all over the place, having the best time. I think what happened is when he was camping, he ate a lot of exotic grass that he's not used to, a lot of it, and his stomach couldn't handle it. And while he started feeling sick from this and feeling very lethargic, etc., he started feeling, oh, woe is me, my claw is so sore, I need to limp all the time. And I think that's what it was. And the nurse agreed with me when I sort of told her that was my diagnosis today. So He's fine. He's still got some poops, but he's getting better. He still doesn't want to drink any water, so what we're doing is feeding him a very bland diet of chicken and white rice, but then filling his bowl with water, so he has to drink to get to his food that he wants. So we're forcing him to keep his hydration up, and it's working because he's still got a wet nose, etc. And he's still peeing a lot. So we're very worried about him this weekend because those signs are big warning signs. Lethargic puppy. The puppies are not lethargic. That's something majorly wrong.
Yeah.
Super sleepy like that, unable to get up, limping so heavily, and having diarrhea as well. It was saying to me that maybe he had some major kind of infection or something, and that was pretty worrying. But his quick improvement after the certain events meant that and what the nurse said to me as well is that we should wait to see what happens because it seems like it might be. So it turned out if this was house, they would never agree on this at the start either. That it's two separate things. One was they ate too much grass, and two, that he had a sore claw. We just assumed that the sore claw that it was the infection itself, but it turns out it wasn't, and it was a sore claw plus he ate too much grass. That's all it was, and he's getting better every day.
Just the perfect combination of everything.
Yeah, so we've decided that we hate camping. It wasn't very fun. Getting up at 5:30, midges everywhere. It was getting stopped by the police. Just a crazy weekend. And now Brutus has chewed through like 7 different bandages. We keep trying to keep them away from this claw so he doesn't end up chewing it off or anything stupid. But that's been my crazy weekend, and that's been my week as well. So I'm sorry for the kind of disgusting story, but it's been the biggest thing in my mind recently, as you can imagine why. So yeah, sorry for that.
Well, that's hey, we want to hear what's going on, but yikes. And the trials and tribulations of having pets. I mean, we've all had our goods and bads, but and so that was admittedly somewhat descriptive, Ken, in ways that I didn't necessarily want to know, but thanks.
You're welcome.
So yeah, okay. So after that, let's see. I guess that means it's my turn now. All right. So what have I been doing that hasn't been geeky this week, or did you have more besides Doge issues there?
No, that's pretty much everything.
Right. So non-geek related for me. Let's see. What have I been doing? So people might have seen if they'd posted on social media yesterday, I was looking a bit dapper. I want to throw it out there, and thanks to friends of mine for helping me go through my closet and put things together. Well, to start it off, it's birthday week for a lot of people. So I want to start by saying happy birthday. First one is in memory to my friend Ben who passed. Today would have been his 39th birthday, and so remembrance for Ben. Also to Lieutenant Fork, whose birthday is about to happen. Our friend of my Tales of Hysteria group, Amy, whose birthday is today. Yesterday, where I was looking dapper to my friend Matthew, who is my cosplay cousin or cosplay buddy, in that he is the number 2 most popular Shepherd Book cosplayer online. If you look at Shepherd Book cosplay, we met at Denver Comic-Con actually a couple years ago as books. That's how we met each other. And so he had a party yesterday, and say happy birthday to him. Also a belated but happy birthday to Copy's mother from last week that celebrated, and I know that Copy and Chibi were able to surprise her in that they brought Chibi home. And
that's lovely. She's been talking about that for months as well.
Yeah, and there was a great video that Chibi posted of her mom just like freaking out when she showed up, which is super cute.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Finally, on top of all that, a happy birthday to the United States of America, as we celebrated this last week our independence from some tiny little island across the ocean that felt somehow like they could control us. And so, happy birthday to all of those.
Happy Treason Day, I'm colonist.
So yes, happy birthday to all. Wanted to throw that out there, top of the thing. But so for Matthew's birthday, I decided to get all dappered up, mostly because when he had posted the message about like his party, which I'd said yes to way back when, and then was running around and all these other things, and that he had posted that it was like a dapper party or something, and so I specifically commented on the message like, "Does this mean we must be dressing dapper?" And he initially said, no, I thought it was a clever title, but sure, dapperness is encouraged, but not required. So I was like, sweet. Well, come time, it was like, oh, crud. Need to go, run. Oh, and yes, sorry. But it was before our last show, actually, Copy, that it was Happy Canada Day. And so, yes, saw your fireworks as well. So, Happy Canada Day from last week's show prior.
Happy Canada Day.
Yes, but that was before. So, not forgotten. That was just last show's. And so, since then, it has been America's. But they... So that had happened, and I was getting ready for the party real quick last night. It was another weekend and all kinds of running around with people. But as I was like, I need to go to this party, I said I would. And I only have seen him outside of convention, like, at his birthday. But, so as I was going to get ready to go, I was like, wait, I said Dapper, I need to look Dapper. And so I had to try to, like, run through my closet and find things. And thankfully, my cosplay people that I've been hanging out with were local, and I let them kind of dress me and essentially throw things on me where I was like, make me pretty. And thus kind of put something together and was able to get a Dapper costume together and thus get out of the house and go visit. Hung out with them for a little bit. Like I said, I thought I pulled off looking fairly pretty. And then came back, hang out. And then last night, I had the opportunity kind of going through, and this is like just the non-geek stuff of where I watched a couple older movies, and there were ones that just were ones I'd seen around lately and I just hadn't watched forever. And so the first one was, we were just kind of like all hanging out doing various things, or I was waiting for some people to get back and such, that I just threw on The Secret of Nim, which is that old classic movie about Miss Brisby Mouse who has children and they're in threat where their house located of the farmer coming through and plowing the field, and that he's going to actually destroy their home, so they need to move the home or do something to try to protect it. And her going through where there are rats in the movie that have gone through The Secret of Nim, some modification that made them much smarter than the average rat, and how it kind of expanded the world. Just neat older movie that's just one of my classic favorites from childhood. Love Secret of Nim. I don't know if it's one you've seen, Ken, but I mean, it's old animation.
I don't think I have. I don't recognize it by the description anyway.
Came out in the 80s. It is one that I still say holds up today. It's such an amazing movie. But got to watch that again, and it was just kind of fun because last week at DCC, one of the things we'd thrown on, we're hanging out at the end of it, was Iron Giant, another one of my favorite all-time animated films.
I know that one. That's a classic, yep.
Yeah, and so I just thrown that on, kind of like, hey, let's just stream this real quick. I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, I love this movie so much. And I was just enjoying it amongst everybody. And then following that, later at the end of last week, as we were still hanging out after the con, watched, we were all getting ready to go to bed, so I put on, it's like, oh, we'll just fall asleep to something. What else do I have here available on my thing? Oh, let's play The Grave of the Fireflies, because that's a nice, happy movie. And for those, basically, for anyone who knows, it's a Studio Ghibli film that is probably one of the most heart-wrenching, like, sad animated films ever made. Like, afterwards, you're like, wow.
Animated or animated?
No, animated. And so it's like Spirited Away and Poyo and Pokoroku, all those ones, the Studio Ghibli, all those ones. My Neighbor Totoro. It's all that style. And so it's just like the Japanese Disney type films. And so just animated movie. And it is notoriously one of the saddest ones out there. And I turned it on, and like Undine looked over and was like, why are you playing this? I was like, it's something to fall asleep to. What? And then I think Amy came back in because she'd take a shower or something. It was like, wait, is this Grave of the Fireflies? I was like, yes. Everyone just kind of looked at me like, what are you doing? That is wrong.
Stop ruining the party, Wayne.
Well, because I've only watched it once. And afterwards, I kind of swore to myself, I was like, that was a really crazy, deep, good movie. I hate myself, and I never want to watch this again. And because it's just one of those ones, it doesn't leave you in a happy way at all. It's about war and kids, and it's just like, no. And so, putting it on, everyone has had that same experience. Like, most people haven't watched it a second time, because they all realize, like, that was traumatic, right? It was like, no, I don't. And so I just took it on. Now, granted, I think we all fell asleep before it really got to anything bad. But it was just like fun to like, what? Let's just watch this, right? Anyhow. So it is a great movie. If you ever want to see it, it's an amazing movie. It's just not happy at all. And speaking of not happy, the other one I got to watch, because it's this weird generational gap in time frames and what people's interests were. But with the cosplay group, as they've been hanging out again, I put on randomly, I just looked through my stuff. I did too. I made them watch King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. which is my favorite documentary out there. It's the one with Steve Wiebe where he first tries to break the Donkey Kong record back in the early 2000s. And they had never seen it. Undine and I watched the whole thing. Matt was falling asleep, and Hyde was falling asleep for the most part. But it's fun because it's such an endearing one that they both kind of perked up like, that is really good. But it's also like, these geeks are really special and how nerdy they are about arcade games. Like, yeah, they are. But great story. The other one I threw at them that they had never seen was the movie Seven. Have you seen that one, Ken?
I've wait, seven. Tell me a bit of first.
Seven's the one that has Brad Pitt is the lead character in it, along with Morgan Freeman, and they're detectives in kind of this hardcore city. I don't know if they specifically say city. It's basically like Chicago or somewhere, and essentially they run into some very specific kind of murders that happen around town that they have to investigate. It's a dark movie. It's not a happy movie. It's more of a thriller than it is scary or anything. And so it's just like, yeah, it's kind of nuts. But it's one that...
No, I think I've seen it, no.
Oh, gosh. So that's one that I threw it in there because I had it on Blu-ray and it was still wrapped. Because it's one of these ones like, everyone should own this one. It's such a great movie. It's kind of like Fight Club to me. It's such a good movie. You should own this.
That's a good movie.
And so it's similar. I mean, it's a slower paced one, and it makes you more watch like, this is messed up. I remember watching it in the theater and how visceral it was just watching. Some of the scenes are so like in your face what they're showing you, but it's not like shock value. It's not they jump scares or anything like that. They're just showing the scene and like describing it and talking about what happened. You're like, this is twisted. This is messed up. Oh God, no. I like how Hando in the Irish, he's like, I watched Seven exactly one time. Never again. But did you think it was good, Hando? That's the key. I saw it in theater. No one having a clue what was about to happen, and it was somewhat shocking. Just like, whoa, this is deep and creepy, and what is going on? And yeah, this is not, And so I knew what was happening, although it had been many, many years, because I watched this, it was back in the 90s when Brad Pitt was first coming up. And so having me watch it again was mostly new to me. I was just like, oh, these scenes, wow. But everyone else, I think Matthew had seen it, but the other two had not. And Undine was kind of in and out watching it. I could tell it was really tired, but was intrigued. Because this is kind of like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning starting a movie. And was just watching it, and I could tell it was like still watching the whole thing. And then towards the very end of the movie, because it does start to climax, when everything starts happening, because mostly it's slow detecting, you're like, oh, that's kind of creepy, that's messed up, why? What's going on? And then as you get towards the end period, you're like, what the hell? Wait, what? And it starts ramping up. And as they start doing some of the reveals, and all the next thing I know that she's like sitting up in the chair watching, like, and then the whole thing happens. And not to spoil, because please, if you haven't seen Seven, go see Seven. And as Hando's saying, could not deal with the ending. It is not a happy movie. It's another one of those that's deep, and like when you see it, you're like, that was really good, but that is messed up that this happens. But it's one of these kind of movies that I love that they make and are out there every once in Tuesday kind of thing. Because too many movies wrap up on this nice happy ending and everything's solved and you know why. This one leaves you with a feeling of like, oh God, I hope people like that don't really exist. Because that's just so messed up. And there's not good closure. It happens, you're like, gotcha, but it's like, And so, yeah, it's such a good movie. So I was happy to be able to introduce that again. I was going through my shelves because I'm older than a lot of people I run around with every day. And so some of these that are just like, to me, like, oh, of course I saw this one growing up. It was such a monumental thing when it first came out. I remember seeing Interview with the Vampire when it hit theater.
Good film.
Back in the early 90s, I was in high school, and we all went to see it, and it was such a packed theater. We were so anticipating it that we all had to sit in separate seats around the theater because it was completely to capacity and waiting in like an hour-long line to get in. And it was phenomenal, right? We watched it, and we're just like, wow, that is a vampire movie. That was amazing. And so
that's the vampire movie.
Honestly, it is. In my opinion, it is. Well, Anne Rice. Vampires are the vampires. And so it was neat to see them kind of interact. I love now introducing people to these older films that I grew up with. It was like, dude, how have you not seen this? This is my childhood, and this is like pivotal to me. And so Seven was one of those as well. And I was looking through my shelves just kind of like, there are more in here I want to introduce people to. And so I'm throwing it out here because it was nice to kind of go through that. and feel it and see it, and it's just like, yeah. Go check out some classics, guys. So good. But anyhow, so I did those. That was really fun. Other than that, basically just been hanging out this last week. I have to apologize again, guys. I have been having so much random things and my time going elsewhere. I've still not posted the last 3 or 4 weeks of show notes and audio posts. You can catch everything on YouTube because all the videos are there posted live right away. So you catch all our past shows on YouTube if you've missed it on the audio. But I haven't posted.
That's surprising. Our recent downloads for the past week have been pretty good, even though we've not been putting the episodes up. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, well, those are just people still get our archives when they get into them. But I haven't done the newest ones for a while, and I apologize, everyone. Every time I go to do it, I sit there and I keep having to work on. I need to fix my sprinklers because they're broken, and my lawn is all dying, and I don't want to pay fees all summer. And Grayfield, you stop that. The things I described were not actually described. That I didn't actually give away anything for those movies, so you should go check them out. I'm very good at non-spoilery things. That they're still totally worth experiencing. Try to make me feel bad. I did not spoil, but I've been pulled away. I'm trying to finish up photos from multiple cons ago that people have been bugging me about, and just constantly doing things while also trying to meet up with as I'll get into the geek cred, getting ready for birthday stuff and printing and other stuff like that. So I've just been rah! For all these things. So I will try to schedule a specific day to do stuff with that. The final thing that I did is partly why the weekend of hanging out was happening is I went to a new fabric store this weekend, which was Allison's, I want to say. But it was a bridal type fabric store. Here in town that my friends Zenko Akko Cosplay have gone to before because they have very nice fabrics. And I'm trying to make a step towards, and I'm stressing out because I'm going to be spending a lot of weekends working on this, my next cosplay. Because now that Denver Comic Con's done, I have to prep for my Thomas Jefferson cosplay. And it scares me to death. And I found, though, finally, which is the next step, the right fabric. With the help of minds and eyes other than I found and spent far too much money on, I want to say it was 10 yards of fabric is what I ended up with, and $200-something later, that I should be able to make my entire costume. Well, I'll be making a long coat that is all out of this faux silk material that's shiny in the right way, and out of basically velvet, I'll be making pants and a vest to go with, as well as I found lace to go around my the collar and my sleeves for my undershirt. I'm going to have to acquire some shoes and some stockings for it still, and patterns, and figuring out how to actually build this entire costume that I have no flipping clue. But thankfully the same group are good and have done these things in the past that they know how to pattern, something I'm scared to death of. And so we're going to, at some point here in the maybe next week, I'll try, set up a patterning class. I can look through a pattern and actually size it for me and figuring out how to do this. And then I'm going to try to build this whole thing in a mock-up of cheap fabrics and then really do this because I have about a month and a half. And that is not enough time. And I'm going to freak out. But I got this.
You're crazy, sir.
Yay, cosplay. As well as I need to buy tickets to fly to that con and other things. I'm all over it. But I will find time to get the shows all edited. Totally, we'll get that. So that's what I've been doing. That's basically not been geek this last week. And so with that, I think it's appropriate that I can switch this over and actually do
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred, level up!
And yes, you're right, Copy. $200 is nothing when it comes to cosplay. That was just for my two things of fabric and the lace. That has nothing to do with anything else I'll have to buy or put together for it. That was just 2 types of fabric. Yeah. It was nice fabric, though. So anyhow, Ken, what have you been doing that's been a little more geek-related lately?
You terrified me, sir. Very little. I had my games night, which was geeky, I suppose. But otherwise, I've not done anything particularly crazy geeky. I have continued watching Star Trek, which is enjoyable.
Yay!
Nothing crazy has been happening that's been surprising me or anything. No, it's been, I suppose, been kind of slow actually watching it this week. I also ended up watching Lord of the Rings because yesterday when we got home from camping, we decided the dogs would go for a sleep and me and Kitten would sit there and watch Lord of the Rings, the whole thing. I downloaded them all again because I own them online somewhere. But I forgot to mention to Kitten 1 that I actually have the extended versions and not the originals.
Okay.
Meaning each one's approximately 3 to 4 hours. Meaning all 3 films, excluding The Hobbit, is approximately 12 hours.
I know the feeling of this. I did the marathon things twice. I've done the Lord of the Rings the Hobbit into the latest Hobbit one, and prior to that, I did all the Star Wars stuff. I know what marathoning's like. So, yikes.
Oh no, we didn't. We did not marathon. That was the plan,
Okay.
but I don't think Kitten knew what she was getting herself into when she said okay to watching this. She likes Lord of the Rings, but I don't think she's ever seen the extended versions. So 5 minutes into the very first film, she's asleep. So I'm just sitting there, and I end up watching the whole first film, all 3 hours of it. And when I was like, when it was Lord 2001, 2002, Lord of the Rings came out. Release.
Oh gosh, it's been a while. I'm not sure.
Yeah, 10th of December 2001. So I would have been 10 years old in 2 months, right? So at that age, I watched it because I had a few friends who were in the shop, but I didn't like it. I found it very confusing. I didn't really know what was going on. All the Elvish names and all the characters you had to remember were very confusing to me. I didn't understand that there was back then. Whenever there was another language on the screen, I would never understand why there's not subtitles or why it's not just made into English. I did not understand why there would be Elvish, for example. Why not just translate it for us? We're watching the film. You made it. Just make English. I never understood the difference. I didn't see why it was a artistic thing or how it added depth to it or anything like that. I just didn't understand. And so I kind of hated Lord of the Rings when I was a kid. So I just never got into it. I just thought it was really hard, really tough watch, and I didn't get it. Over the years, I watched it again, and since then I already had fallen in love with fantasy tenfold, and same with sci-fi, etc., and geekdom in general. Back then, I was just a gamer, really. So I finally watched it again about when I was about 16, 17, 18, and really liked it, and watched it again about 5 years ago, and I absolutely loved it, and I'm watching it again just now, and even more in love with it, because since then I've listened to the soundtrack probably 3,000 times. It's one of my favorite go-to soundtracks for working. I like to sing code while listening to Lord of the Rings soundtrack. So I'm really enjoying it. The thing is, Kitten, we watched that one film, it ended, Kitten woke up, and then we went about our day as normal. So I didn't get to watch the other 2, even though that was originally the plan. So I'm halfway through the second film now, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm really looking forward to getting back to it. I think as soon as I have an opportunity this week, I'm probably going to sit and watch the rest of them too.
See, that's interesting, because for me, I don't know why, but I have trouble watching them again. I really enjoyed them like the first time that I watched everything, and since then, I was like, I'd watch it again, I'd start to get a little bored, a little tired of stuff. I was like, all right, but that's interesting, because I don't look forward to them as much. Maybe because they are so long. I
Maybe.
don't know. Like, I love
Plus,
them.
under
I
you
did.
haven't gone through the marathons as well. That's probably a big part of it.
I have done very extended watchings. Very. Oh. And so, yes.
That's probably part of it.
So, but no, that's cool that you
I
are.
wouldn't, I wouldn't feel bad about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I've been watching that and really enjoying that. So other than watching things, I also actually one more thing I should probably mention. Top of the Lake? Yeah. So on Netflix they have this original series called Top of the Lake. Now here's a description for it.
Okay.
Set in a remote mountain town in New Zealand, Top of the Lake centers on the disappearance of 12-year-old Tui, who is 5 months pregnant. She is seen standing chest deep in a freezing lake, and now all attention is focused on inexperienced Detective Robin Griffin, who leads the investigation in the same town where she endured traumatic events years earlier. Not only must she find Tui, but Robin embarks on a journey of self-discovery. Her limits are tested amid clashes with Matt, the missing girl's father, and local drug lord, and GJ, a guru at the local women's camp. We decided to watch it not because of that description. That didn't sound particularly appealing, to be honest. The reason we decided to watch it is because it got 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
And that usually means one of two things. One is artsy. Artsy films are always really highly rated on Rotten Tomatoes. Whether they're good or not, people just want to be seen to be liking these kind of films because they're like, oh, I'm so forward thinking. I love this. or so I find. As such, I was a bit reserved watching this. However, I was pleasantly surprised because it's not bad. There's a couple bits that kind of made me shudder. It wasn't great, but for example, one of the things I really enjoyed is that I mentioned that there's a camp leader called GJ, who they see as this like spiritual guru person.
Okay.
And under her, a bunch of like damaged women who have like got traumatic experiences or horrible events happen to them, and they come here for some sort of unofficial recuperation type thing, like a retreat almost. And they live in a place where there are only storage containers that you see on cargo ships and mattresses, and that's how they live there, because it's a spiritual retreat or some shit. So that's how they do it. And there's at the very start, the sort of the drug lord that's mentioned in the description shows up because he's mad about these spirit-free lover type people moving onto his land effectively. So he, as far as he was concerned, he owned that land, and it turns out there was some dispute with the law, etc., etc. Boring backstory there, but there's a dispute because but when he first shows up, he asks them to who are you? What are you doing here? And they start going into like the clue they've been waiting to talk about their story. It just feels like they can't wait to talk about the thing that makes them want to be there. Like, oh well, I was damaged when, and all of them go into their stories, and he's just like, I don't care, because he's like an a-hole, and these girls are like over dramatic, lost, hippies. And the first one who describes her tale goes on about how her boyfriend started getting more aggressive and hitting her and attacking her, and became very possessive on her, and then goes on to describe that he is a chimpanzee.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so that's the kind of girls that are here, right? That's kind of the point. Is you'd feel sorry for them for the first part, not the last part. You're the one that engaged in sexual relations with an animal, so
okay. Wait,
yeah.
What was this called again? What?
It's called Top of the Lake. It's very highly rated on Netflix, and it is something of an artsy film, but it's good fun. Series.
Okay.
I am enjoying it so far. I wouldn't say it's the best thing ever, but it is enjoyable. So I've been watching that. Right. I installed a few games onto my phone. I installed Don't Starve because I'd never played it yet. And I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Well, I have Don't Starve Together, which I've failed at every time I've touched. And so I have watched, La Campette apparently plays it very well. I've seen her stream it. But I do not know how to play, so I'll be curious to hear how that goes for you.
Well, I played it for about 10 minutes today, and I didn't see the appeal. It seems like a very watered-down survival game. I don't really like the theme. I don't really like the feel to the game.
Okay.
I am not very far in, to be fair, and I'm sure there's a lot more to be unlocked and seen and found and so on and so forth. So I'm going to continue giving it a shot. But I'm usually pretty accurate with my own early instincts of the game and whether I like it or not, or I paint a picture too early and then stick to it with whether I want to or not. But for whatever reason, it's unlikely I will like this because I already know I don't. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm always willing to try, right? That's the thing. I'm always willing to try and force past that, but I don't know if that'll work. I also picked up Pandemic because I've been really enjoying board games recently, so I want to play more board games. I decided to play the Pandemic board game on my phone. I haven't played it yet because I did pick up when I had a few drinks a few nights ago, and I was kind of looking at it bleary-eyed, and I was just like, I don't know how to play this. It's just confusing when I've had a few drinks, so I just closed it. I also picked up Space Chem, which I'm kind of enjoying. I think it's quite a enjoyable game, even though it's a little. I don't know how to describe this one either. Let's see if I can find the description here. Take on the role of a reactor engineer working for SpaceChem, the leading chemical synthesizer for frontier colonies. Construct elaborate factories to transform raw materials into valuable chemical products. Streamline your designs to meet production quotas and survive encounters with the sinister threats that plague SpaceChem. And it's free for schools as well, which is really cool.
Okay.
And it's pretty fun. I've not played a lot of it, but it's a very unique game, and I am enjoying it. I would recommend you pick up and give it a shot and play it for more than 10-15 minutes before you make any judgment on it. because at the start it's pretty confusing. Like even with tutorials, it is pretty confusing as to what's going on. The word factory to me isn't really accurate. It's more like a formula you're putting together. It's a more accurate way of thinking of it. But it's a fun little game. It's a little puzzle game, and it's something you can pick up and play for a couple of minutes, and then that's it. It's good fun. Also picked up Zombie City. I haven't played it at all because I struggled with the idea of it, but it's basically a zombie game, but you've got to like barricade a city or whatever and explore, I think. So I'll try it out and discuss it next week if I still have it and don't forget about it. But that's been everything I've been up to in my week of geek. Sir, what have you been up to?
Very nice, sir. Very nice. So, geek-wise, let's see. So the main thing is actually, before I get into mine, let's look at email that we had received for Geek Cred update. True. And so this one comes into us from our friend AgriSSW. It says,
hey.
Greeting once more, good ex-sirs. AgriSSW here, once more with a quick update on my Geek Cred. I visited Anime Expo once more on the final day with a friend of mine who was unable to buy a pass this year, and Ambrosia offered up her pass, and thus our hunt for loot began. And for those who don't know, like Anime Expo is a massive anime convention out in LA, and one that I really want to go to, and I may do instead of DCC next year, just based on how everything this year went. But says, I must say it was much different on the last day compared to the first. We combed the entire shop and art areas very quickly, and I went home with my booty. A May pillow from Overwatch, a tiny Mr. Webby plushie from my favorite webcomic, Spinneret, and a Sunset Shimmer pony plushie. I don't know that one. I also took more pics of awesome cosplayers and have posted them on my Facebook. Finally, my friend and I saw Spider-Man Homecoming yesterday and really enjoyed it. Hands down, my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. That's all I have for this week, good sirs. Keep up the good work. P.S. Birthday shout out to my friend Soraya. Soraya, sorry. And that coming to us from AgriSSW, level 110, Human Paladin of the Guild Silver Wings, Moonguard US, the Paladin and husband-to-be of Ambrosia Hartnett. Right? It's ridiculously cute. And I will say, based on that, loots at con is probably one of the biggest reasons I go, although so much like, I pay to go and pay for more stuff to buy more stuff. It's ridiculous, but it's what we do. And I also want to say that I've heard from many people, have not experienced yet myself, that the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie is quite good. I have yet to hear someone say a bad thing about it.
Yeah, me too.
And so I'm very curious and want to see that. So I don't know when, but I will have to check it out. So no, that's good to hear again from others and people we trust how good it was. So thank you for that Geek Cred. I definitely say that counts. So going into mine, and based on some discussions that we had earlier on the IRC and stuff, Steam sales. So the Steam sale finished along with other kind of summer sales that were going on. And I managed to get away with only buying two things this season. One, which I really didn't need to buy, but I just looked at the price and was like, really? Shadows of Mordor. The game that had come out, which is that action game.
Oh, dude, finally. What a great game.
It was $4.
Yeah, no excuse.
I don't know if I'll ever play it, but I'm going to own the license, so I'll buy it. And so I was just like, because I've heard so many good reviews about it. Maybe I will find free time and just do it. So I was like, at $4, I kind of was like, yeah, here, just take it. And on the other side of it, I went on Oculus Store because they timed theirs to match as well. And on the Oculus Store, I picked up a game that I already own, but has now been converted over to VR. And I will talk about that in a minute. But otherwise, I pretty much got away without losing all my money to Valve this time. I would say probably one of the problems with already owning everything from Valve, like all the games. And so it's that I don't have much opportunity to do more games. And probably a good thing, because I don't have enough time to play said games. So, oh well. Yeah, that and stuff and that. Other things. Oh, another thing I did recently, although I think I did it before the last show, I don't know if I talked about it, was I built a new computer for a friend of mine. So my friend Hyde, who's in our group, has been going along where I had visited and we were hanging out trying to finish up her cosplay for her chic stuff for Comic-Con. And while doing so, I got to see what she considered a computer. at the time. It was a little old beige box that I want to say lived in a... What was the case? I think it was a Gateway box, Gateway brand computer. Like, at least the case was, which for anybody that should take you right back to the early 90s. And it was such that the video card, which I don't know exactly what model was, but was this tiny little thing with a little tiny fan cooler on it, where no external power, anything like that. So it's kind of a... So you played games on this?
Does it whir like crazy when you ran RuneScape?
I do. I don't think she had been able to play anything for I don't know how long. And so I offered up, and basically she bought from me. But I finally went through my shelves in the back here where we just had parts and pieces fitting together. And without having to go to the store, I was able to piece together a gaming PC from basically the leftovers of what's sitting in my basement. And not a shabby one, because I hadn't needed to. I kept talking about using my old i7 as a server and have not done so. And so I basically put together my old i7, my old gaming rig, which is a 2.6 gig. And, see, Sam, you were doing so good. So I was able to get that going. And, so got that, and what else? It had 24 gigs of RAM on it, and put, what else did I do with that? Found my old video card, which was a 7970, put that in there, and I had an old monitor laying around, my old gaming case, an old keyboard and mouse, and I took from some of the people that had put, what was it? They had put together things from... like another old computer that we were going to use a Game Fest to build for someone, and then they had built their own computer, so they still had it. So old hard drives and stuff from that. And the only thing we had to purchase essentially was a copy of Windows 10 to throw on it, and put it all together, and it was happy. And like built a new PC, which is sad that I built an entire gaming PC out of leftovers. So yeah, if ever anyone's in the Denver area and you have an old video card, or you have a computer, you're not sure how gameable you are, come talk to Doc Dead, and I may be able to find you scraps and just put them together. And so... It's
good you can sell off all that crap as well.
Yeah, it's usually too old to actually feel like I'd get enough money for it. Like a lot of the cards I have probably 8 or 10 9000 series NVIDIA cards sitting on my shelf. So like everything from 9200s, 9300s, 9400s, 9600s, a bunch of those. And like probably 5 or 6 9800s.
Have you considered selling them as to Bitcoin miners? Because some of the old graphics cards are really efficient for that.
That actually might be a good way to look at it. That might be a better answer. Because so far I just haven't. And it's been like, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what to do with these. That might be a better answer than what I've been not doing. And so I just grabbed stuff, throw it together. But I've done it with each Game Fest. People come over. I'm kind of like, does anybody have... Oh, why did it do that? You silly thing. I'll have to go back and hit it. So
24/7 stream.
Well, so what happened is the server in the background picked up once I let the stream down on that one. And so I can fix this.
Dun dun dun. I think I'm here to entertain you now, folks. So how's it going? I want to actually just continue with the email from... Oh, they've not got any more. I thought we had more emails. Oh, only one. Send them in, folks, to showx@vdirectionist.com. We do enjoy getting your emails.
It must have been somewhat jarring because it was playing our show as an archive on top of this show, and so that I could see as...
How dare we play over ourselves? Screw us in the past. Screw those guys.
Which is basically what happened. Oh, you piece of junk. They tried to take it over again, so we'll see. But if you're listening to the low archive on it, it should be all right. Yeah. And so I will try once more to tell it to kick off and stop taking over the stream.
And we have success. Oh wait, I thought you were still here.
Haha! Did it. There.
Well done.
I took it back over. Evil, evil thing. So sorry about that, everyone. It's because the whole music thing on the, or how Sam keeps breaking on us. And it's primarily due to that the 128 kilobit encoder it does, the high quality stream encoder. That's partly with the resources what freaks it out. And so I've learned that much. And so when I do continue to play it, it keeps wanting to like lock up because it's doing that streaming. And so I don't know. It's got issues. And I keep saying I'm going to I keep saying I'm going to reinstall Sam over the time and I haven't. And so I need to. The nice thing is consistently, if you listen to the YouTube stream, it's the one that continues and works well. When I break everything else, YouTube is happy because it all goes through OBS, which seems to be perfectly fine software. So if I could just get it to extract multiple channels, we would get off of Sam completely. Regardless, we'll get there. So built the computer, was surprised it got running in for a pretty reasonable price, I'd say, which is nice. Other than that, actually, it's funny. It's time to take a break, so I'll end it on that, and hopefully it'll go through the break and the notes that I have in there just fine. We'll come back, and I will continue to chat about what I've been doing geek-wise. So with that, you're listening to Show X, and we'll be back, hopefully after this break, if the music doesn't freak out. So I'll be right back.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com. to Show X on btwproductions.com.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show. Alright, thank you for that quick break. Get refreshed, get things going. Time to talk more geek cred. Alright, so what other things have I been doing? So also got an opportunity to finally kind of get back on track, I'd say, with D&D. Have had a very sporadic playing of the Dungeons & Dragons where I keep feeling like it's part of my geek thing that I need to learn how to play this thing, and I've done it and stuff, and yeah, so I've kind of got to playing again. My group has gone through many changes and stuff over the time, and for the most part I've kind of tried to get them to let me out of the group because my schedule's so hectic that it always interferes, but they haven't let me, so I've had to continue. But we actually got together and gamed a bit the other day, and it went surprisingly well. We've made progress, and we fought off a bunch of apes and killed things, and it worked out well. Although it's amazing because my group is still dysfunctional in the sense that I think we almost die every time we do anything. So we spend more time resting and healing back up than we do probably anything else. But that was fun. Other than that, the thing I wanted to talk about was VR a little bit. I said I'd picked up one thing on the sales. The one thing I picked up was the tower defense game. And I don't know if, Ken, did you ever play this one? Which is Defense Grid. Did you ever play Defense Grid?
Oh, yeah, dude. I played the crap out of Defense Grid. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, so I love Defense Grid, right? And Defense Grid 1 and 2, I enjoyed both of them very much so. Had a ton of fun with the first one. And the second one, they finally, in the Oculus store, and I have it, I think, for, because it's in my Steam library as well, that they have it for both the Vive and anything else you can do for VR. But they made an edition that was VR enabled. Now, and I'd heard good things, and because of the sale, I want to say I got it for half off. I want to say I was able to get it for half off on the during the sale on Oculus. And
nice.
So I finally like, screw it, let me pick this up. I love Defense Grid. Let me see what it's like in VR. I'm very curious. And so I got it, started playing, and it's different. And I'm not sure if I like or not it so far. I was hoping, and now granted, I think they had made the mix for it before the Oculus Touch controllers came out. And so it was designed to work with a regular controller. The touch controllers work because you can treat them kind of like a regular controller. They have essentially the same buttons, and they have thumbsticks, so they can mimic a regular controller. But you can tell it wasn't meant for the controller. And the reason I say is because I was hoping in Defense Grid I'd be able to like reach out and touch things, like point to grab a turret and do something or whatever, right? The interface to kind of make it feel like I was really interacting with the space. But it didn't have that. So instead, I was left with kind of, the way they do it is it's one of the games where you're looking is where it does stuff. And so the center point of your vision is a dot, a kind of a floating laser pointer dot. And so wherever you're looking on the screen is where it interacts. And then you just kind of hit the buttons on your controllers to do things. And so in Defense Grid, what they have is a whole storyline about how an AI has gotten, or aliens are coming in and trying to steal your cores, your power cores. And you have an AI that's kind of talking you through of how to defend yourself and such. And in it, you go and you set up turrets around this area, Defense Grid, right, of turrets, to fend off the aliens and protect your cores. And so with this one, they do the same storyline. It's the same game, it looks like. But they start you as kind of this upper isometric view, almost I would say like the default camera. But you can look around in the view, and in VR's like lean in and kind of look around the world. So you can still get some of that, but I don't see yet any means to like manipulate your view, to rotate the map or something like that. So it's kind of like a static thing, and you can move around it to a degree. But I think they also designed it so you can mostly play it seating, because in a long-term strategy game like this, that you're going to be sitting or watching it for a while, it kind of doesn't make sense to stand through the whole thing. Although I did, I did it from a standing position essentially, but it was cool because it looked pretty good. I also was it was interesting because I don't think they modified the graphics much, if at all, for VR, in that I could lean in and look real close at units, and they'd start to look a little fuzzy, a little blurry. And I mean, some of that's the VR itself. It's not really meant to get something kind of right in front of your face in VR, but it seemed like I think they could have upped the graphics a little bit for that. But it was cool to kind of look around at them, and when you look at one of the squares where you could build a tower, you just look at it, it would highlight the square, hit the button, and it would choose it, and then you'd look at like build tower or upgrade tower or sell tower to do the next part.
Sure.
What was also cool about it, though, is that it had in the corners, like the UI was such, because again, VR you can look all over. So they had kind of a stuck UI where you look up at information about the incoming waves. You'd look up at your health and core information, and look kind of like their billboards sitting over the map. And so that part was actually pretty cool for how they used the VR interface as a whole. Liked that a lot.
That's neat.
And so it was interesting. It worked. I played maybe 3 maps in it in a row, and then I was getting a little VR fatigued, mostly because I had been doing this standing, and so thus standing, I was standing up the whole time and leaning in and just watching things happen, because you still have to go through all the waves, and it can take you 20, 30 minutes. And so you're just standing there watching it happen versus like actively running around doing stuff. And I was kind of like, ugh. So I wish I had started it from a seating position or reoriented myself seating. I'll do that in the future.
Yeah.
But standing, I was able to lean in
on.
more. Well, and they had a piece of it which kind of makes you want to stand or look around, which is they added an Easter egg kind of thing in the game where you can find these little floating icons or gem kind of blocks, and you look at them and hit A to gather them, and they have a certain number per level, which kind of forces you to look around corners in the level or over something to find them all. And so that kind of is worth standing up or getting out of your seat for. Otherwise, it played like Defense Grid, and it was nice and fun and looked good. And so I like it. I may go through more of it, but I'll probably do it seating. But it was pretty cool. I liked that one. I've been a little spoiled because I've now done Oculus Touch built games. And once you play Touch, it's really what makes you think like, oh, this is what VR is. Everything else I've been doing is kind of a tease. But VR really needs to have you touching and interacting and throwing and grabbing. And so, it was hard to play a game that was just designed for the controller after playing Touch. Like, you really want to reach into things and grab stuff after Touch. So that was a bit tough. But overall, enjoyed it and hopefully play more. The other thing I experienced for the first time, this time with VR, is Google Earth VR. And so Google Earth has a plugin to work with VR. I had it on my Steam library. I could never get the VR to work quite right, but on Oculus they now had it as well, and once I put it in there, it worked great. And, oh no, I hear you. Sarathis is talking about tower defense in IRC and saying that Gemcraft is the best, which I never played that one. And Warcraft 3 is what you put in there, that they had a great tower defense version. But basically Sarathis is saying, but nobody plays them because MOBAs have taken over the world. And I tend to agree. The only place I've seen good tower defenses really has been on mobile. And even then, there's only a handful of mobile ones that I really thought were that great. I don't personally, because I never got on the craze of it, play like Bloons, which a ton of my people locally would play, and they'd leave it in like a side browser as they did other things. That one never caught my fancy. I like intelligent, creative tower defense games. I really do. And Defense Grid has been one of my favorites because of the variety of towers, the variety of enemies, and kind of the ability to cast special abilities and some other stuff in there that I really have liked Defense Grid. It's just been a long time since I played. And I'll also argue, Sarah, this is one of the challenges because everyone does MOBAs is we don't get nearly enough RTSs, like good solid RTSs, like Warcraft 4, which I would love to see. Anyhow,
that would be freaking awesome, dude. I would be so happy.
Right? Come on, BlizzCon. Announce something we actually care about. And so the other one, though, I saw was with the Google Earth. Essentially, it is just Google Earth, yet it's designed to work with VR and with touch. And it is interesting. It puts you out where you're looking like at the Earth as though it's this big globe in front of you. And you start with a very perpendicular view. So as you zoom in, you're zooming straight down like you're falling towards the Earth. And it's interesting because it is all VR, and so the sense of scale is pretty neat, or depth. The challenge is they also always keep it at a level that's somewhat like you're a character over a model versus being in the world at a normal size. Because while, and this is kind of the weird part, Google Earth is something that Google no longer truly supports. They actually have basically dropped support for Google Earth. And instead, what they are going for is their Maps service. And so with Maps and the browser kind of thing, they're trying to force you into the browser instead of a standalone. And right now, as far as I know, they haven't done like the VR in the browser. So they haven't added to it where you could do something else with it. It's all just been the standalone that has the VR. But it's kind of interesting that in the app, one of the problems is they didn't fully detail it. Because if you go to Maps and you go in and you zoom in, you can go to street level for one. where you get the 360 views, but you can also get so close that they update constantly and it zooms really nice to high level detail. In Google Earth, not so much. The detail is like still at I should be in the sky view, and the way it cuts away, so models start to degrade as you get real close to the Earth. And so in the app, they also have it where even when you touch the ground, you're kind of still floating up in a ways from the map. But what was really cool, and I was kind of giggly, is once I got down onto the Earth and tilted it down where it was like my perspective flying around it, I felt like I was a Titan walking around the Earth. Because
That's pretty cool. I like
not
it.
quite as tall as the tall buildings downtown, but mostly. So it wasn't like I was so tall that I was looking down on the whole city, but I was taller than most buildings. And so I could walk around room scale, but mostly I was still using the controller to drive it, as well as you could reach out and grab the Earth with the touch controller and drag it under you to quickly move around, which again was kind of an interesting just feeling of like, let me grab this and transverse by just pulling the Earth under me. But it was a hoot to go places I know, around Denver and stuff like that, or other sites I've been to. In fact, one of the places I went to is where I visited my friend Kinzel in Japan. I found his apartment in Japan. It was cool to kind of like zoom through and grab the Earth, zoom back in and get down almost to the level and start looking around like, oh, from here I can actually kind of see where that was, this was, and things like that. And they let you like grab the sun and move it in perspective to get a different time of day, so you get the shadowing and stuff like that. It was neat. It was really neat. The challenge is I really hope they will step this one step further and work it with their Maps app, because the one thing missing from it is you can get so close to things that in a way you kind of wish you were like able to get all the way to the ground. It's so close that you're like, oh, it's like right on the edge of being all of it. And so I just really wanted to be able to get into satellite imagery they have and the way that they do it and the Maps program with their 3D, where you can get like on top of things, and maybe it's the texturing they do, but the models just seem better in the Maps version. Or actually, maybe it's almost the same, but maybe it's because you can go straight to the street level. If they added that to Google Earth VR, where you could pop all the way to ground level and then see the 360 picture view, that I think would make the app just amazing. Because then you'd be standing on the street looking around. And so...
That's cool.
But otherwise, it was a hoot. And I really enjoyed it. And if you have VR, it's free. You can grab it. Why not? And so I found myself kind of surprised with how much time I spent flying around in VR. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah, that's a thing. And so it was really cool. So, yep, throw that out there. Let's see. Other than that, that was my VR experience. The other thing I want to talk about geek this week has been 3D printing. So everybody knows, hopefully by now, that I have my Robo R2 3D printer, the newer update to my 3D printer, and I have quite been enjoying it. It's been, for the most part, working great. I had one time I had to unclog it and do stuff, but after that, and I figured out a few more things, I've been printing continuously. It's my whole thing that thing should be running all the time, and so that it can eventually pay for itself. I recently, because I gave one of my friends my last Ocarina wand, or Wind Waker wand, I printed a new one. And it's actually two. One of the ones failed me and I gave away real quick. This one I figured out how to do much better. Again, continuously learning. But the other thing I've now been doing is looking at GIFs, because people love 3D print stuff. They're just kind of like, oh, this is really slick. And so I have been working on a gift for my friend Amy, whose birthday is today. Thankfully, I don't believe she listens to the show, so I can talk about this.
Amy, if you're listening, let us know first. Tweet us right now. You've got like 6 seconds.
Just do the spoiler alert thing where you go away and don't listen to this part. But one of the things that Amy does for cosplay is she has a very lightweight costume she does, which is a casual version of Diva from Overwatch. Diva being kind of the cutesy little Asian gal that runs around in the big mecha, and is a fan that people love this character. And officially, I'm pretty sure she's a Japanese character in it, because I think Mei is the Chinese character and such.
Yeah.
And so Amy's a little Japanese gal, and so she had a beach version of Diva, and the last con she did a kind of summer dress version of Diva. And so, is she Korean? Actually, thank you very much. This is where I need my resources and my references, keeping us honest. So Grayfield, thank you for saying that. I'm saying that she's Korean, which also makes sense. And so in it, she has done the costumes, but it kind of does the regular, like, does face paint for little triangles on the face that are distinctive of her and kind of the color scheme, but that's been about it. So one of the things I did is I found online models for her and am in the process of printing out Diva's headset. And so it's essentially the piece she wears on her head that goes over and is very distinctive for like her voice communications thing or something, but it's kind of like headphones that she has. And so I have been printing these pieces and finding a model on Thingiverse for it for a wearable 3D print for her. And I'm going to try to get this done to present her today. The last pieces, because I had one part fail, which is the top of this kind of like side piece. It's actually a brilliant model. It does like the earpieces, and then it has the side head pieces that go and actually just kind of slot directly in to where it goes. I'll just have to like clean it up a little bit and then glue it in. And then it has a headband that comes across that essentially connects the pieces. But unfortunately, I tried printing these all as like one print per group, so 2 prints on each one at the same time. The headpieces the earpieces came out pretty solid, just some cleanup underneath. The side pieces, because they printed up, failed towards the top and came off, and so I went back, sliced the model again, and I hopefully did it right where I'll be able to finish this print that's going now, glue them on, and be done. But I love that with 3D printing, I can do things like this, find just cool little knickknacks that people hopefully would enjoy, and can...
Yeah, it's a really neat thing, yeah.
Yeah, put them together for people. So I'm really excited to get this one done, and I also have one planned, although I don't know if it'll be done in time for tomorrow, if this finishes up, for Lieutenant Fork for her birthday. Another actually Overwatch themed thing. But try to get some stuff done like that. Also, with 3D printing, friends Matthew and Undine, Zenko Ako Cosplay, went out and through Craigslist found a used 3D printer. They have been pretty much intrigued with everything I've shown them with printing and kind of talking about makerspaces and things like this. They have a goal to make this large group makerspace kind of thing here in the area. We've talked about all the kind of supplies and stuff you could get for it and ways to do that. And in doing so, they saw my 3D printer and they said, yep, want to play with and do some things. So yesterday, as we were running around and got my fabric and did some other stuff, Akko was able to go out and get a 3D printer that basically half cost from what is being sold online for this kind of very easy to use one. I think it's a New Tech or something like that. Was it an MT or a MIOT or something? It's one that I used to see it. I saw it at CES a couple years ago when they first were doing it, as trying to make one of the most simple, easy to use 3D printers. It's a fairly small print base, like 4 by 5 by 6 inch cubic kind of space. So a smaller one. It doesn't have a very hot end, so it's only designed to do PLA, the regular softer plastic. But it's a very simple one, very few parts to deal with. Really, you're supposed to just plug and play in, connect it to the web via Wi-Fi, throw in the filament, and use their app online to do everything. That was one of the initial challenges, though, because the Mio or whatever, it requires it to be logged into their service online. And in doing so, the gentleman who had sold it to him initially hadn't unregistered it from his, so it knew the serial number and said, nope, can't, this printer's already assigned to something. So they had to get that sorted out, got that done, and now they've got it together. And then
it's neat that they have that. It's actually quite a nice security feature they have, because people would want to steal 3D printers, right? So that's
potentially
that's
right. But it made it a bit of a challenge because it also kind of ties you into their architecture network of doing things. They design it where you don't have a standalone app on your computer. They run it all through the web. And so their goal is for you to actually go through their store to buy either models people have made for like $1 here or there. So a lot are free. But most people online go to Thingiverse, which is like the de facto place to get all 3D models for free. That's where most people will host a free model. They do let you use that, but it's not intuitive. I had to go look up one of their how-to videos to find out the feature. There's a part under your like little login icon in the top right of the browser that shows your account, that under, if you click on it, it has the option to upload your own file. But it took me a while to find that. And then once you do, because you could do it a little advanced way locally where you could load your own G-code and have it run, but we were finding that we didn't set up the slicer engine in Cura correctly. And so it wasn't adhering properly. It was printing off to the side and just making a mess. And so I decided, well, let's use their thing. Finally found the upload button, was able to upload a file that we had downloaded. And then they go through this kind of processing online where they give you basically all the main tools you need to resize, to change the angle, stuff like that for what you're printing. But then you have to let them do it, and they have their own slicer and their own kind of setup online, so you don't really get much to tweak You kind of have to trust what they're going to slice. You can basically choose quality and how dense it is, and that's about it. But it went out in cloud, it did it, took a little while, and then it came back and said it was ready, hit play and started printing. And it worked. It was just a little bit like, oh man, I wasn't expecting how to do this, but it worked. And they were able to initially print it off a little toy, like tiny fox thing, something that only took about an hour to print. Because that's the other thing, is I had to tell them, like, well, we're not planning on hanging out again tonight till, tomorrow, so please don't queue up something that's going to take 24 hours to print. That might be a little awkward when you want to go home. As I'm trying to teach them also how to do faster prints, how to make prints look better, all these little things. But it's been fun because I've been learning more and more about 3D printing by working with different printers.
You're at that level already. They're quite lucky to have somebody there because you had to do this often, well, most of it by yourself, right? Like you had to teach yourself how to do all that.
I learned so much through, because at the time, especially with my R1, there was almost no videos out there, and it would Grayfield. The thing about working on a 3D model and then having people use it for free is that if you upload to Thingiverse, it's a royalty-free, it's a Creative Commons type site. Everything has to be open source. And the reason that's important is most of the files that are on there are based on copywritten material, and thus you can't sell them. And so the other side of it, though, is you can go to other sites like the site for this one, the New Tech or whatever site, as well as the one I will tell people to use all the time, which is myminifactory.com. They'll have a lot of the same free models, but you'll also find models that are for sale. And those are usually very high detailed models. A lot of them are able to be used not just for 3D printing, but for games or for actual like movies, stuff like that, just a 3D model. And some of them, the advantage to buying some of those models from things like My Mini Factory is some of them have been really optimized for 3D printing. Like someone went in there and made sure all the angles were at a good printable angle so that you don't have to do supports and overhangs and stuff like that, and you can get a really clean print the first time. And so there's both models. There are free, which is just people who love it and they mostly made it for themselves, but they realized they were making something from a video game or from a movie or something, and therefore they can't legally sell it. But they said, well, I put the time in to make it myself, why not just give it to people? And so there's a ton of things out there. People do that for little knickknacks and parts and pieces. I want a headphone hanger or something, so here's one I made real quick. Anybody can use it, it's free. Go have fun. But it's nice because it's kind of this maker community.
An example of this in other fields actually is that that Wrath of the Lich King song, Totems of the Grizzlemaw. It's a song that was created for the World of Warcraft expansion Wrath of the Lich King. And the music is available online for violin. So if you play violin and if you understand sheet music and if you know the theory behind music and have qualifications, etc., to be able to read that, that's available to you. But me as a guitarist, I had no access to be able to read that without spending dozens of hours learning how to read music, etc., and then transposing it from whatever tuning is in from violin over to guitar, and then composing it into a 6-string instrument instead of a 4. It becomes a very difficult process that would take a long time. So instead, I sat down and worked it out by ear and wrote out the tab for myself. And I did it for me. I did it because I wanted to learn it. And I did. I managed to learn the first 2 minutes of the song or whatever. And that made me very happy, the main theme. And then I thought, you know what? Why am I keeping this to myself? And so I put it on Ultimate Guitar, which is ultimate-guitar.com.
Nice.
And it's got, let me find out the exact number now. But I believe it's the most popular thing that I've ever uploaded. And I've uploaded a few things that I don't ever expect payment for, and I put in the effort, as you said, for me, right? I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it for anything else. And yeah, here it is. I got... it wasn't the most popular, but I got 1,500 views. So 1,500 people have looked that up and decided to learn that, or at least look at it once or whatever, and that's satisfying. It's nice to know that people are actually using it. And I had some people go to my YouTube video of it as well and say on that they were very appreciative of the fact that I wrote out the tab and that was very nice of me, etc. And it gave me a nice feeling. It made me feel glad that I actually provided something for free. I think there's a lot to be said for Creative Commons or for providing things out there for free. I'm not saying that I do agree with you as well, Greyfield. We should also respect people who make unique pieces of work and then pay them for it. I mean, there's a reason that we do advocate you should pay for your video games, you should pay for your films, etc. We do genuinely believe that, because it's unfair that these people out there spend so much of their own personal time and effort making something that they should get paid for and then getting it stolen from them. That sucks. However, there are these odd circumstances where you can get stuff for free and people are happy to give it for free like that. So it's a win-win situation, you know. And I think that's one of them with this 3D print. Well, from what you're telling me, Wayne, this one 3D print website, or a couple of them are for that kind of thing. So that makes sense.
Well, Thingiverse is one that I want to say was originally hosted by MakerBot, may still be from that company. It was kind of where their repository, where people who were using MakerBots were putting everything. And I like it because it's kind of the easy way for everyone to get out there and start printing, finding things. I, in fact, has just been looking on here right now as I have it up. We've been talking about making little toys, and I have my top of my office, my shelves or whatever at top are just filled with little 3D prints I've been doing. And I keep wanting to add more. And I'm trying to think things that people will recognize are just fun. And so one of the ones I want to do more of are League of Legends characters. Because I printed one of Rammus, all pointy and stuff, and it came out surprisingly good. And so I keep looking like, well, who else do I really enjoy that I want to print of? And I kind of want to do like a Cho'Gath or such. And these ones that like I used to play the heck out of. And with the supports, it'll work, but it's still some like work. Like, how is this going to, get together? And so I'm just kind of looking through like Thingiverse at League of Legends characters, like, wow, which one looks really good, or what would be a fun one to also maybe have on my desk and stuff like that. And so I've done a ton of toys as a whole, and that's just another one that I'm currently looking at for toys. Because I also have like custom pieces, weapons, stuff like that. Because I have ones where I could do like guns from different characters, which would be fun for costuming. But even just having a little model of a character, I think would be a ton of fun. And so I've been looking through that. I don't know. I like it because there's just so many random things. And as I was starting to introduce Zenko Aka to it, they were blown away with just all the options. It's like, yeah, there are so many things you can do. Just pick. Just go nuts. Find something to play with. And so they're just starting to. They're all excited because they now have a 3D printer. A little baby, my first printer kind of thing. And so it's pretty cool. And it's been fun introducing someone else, like you said, with the knowledge I've had and all the stuff I've known for a while, to kind of show someone else how to do it and skip ahead. Here's all the things I learned the hard way. Don't do this.
Yeah, don't do this, don't do that. Don't buy cheap stuff. Don't.
Well, actually, I keep telling people, buy cheap, buy all the cheap filament you want. I personally have not run into one that I could say this failed because the filament was bad. The most I've gotten are ones where I was kind of like, I didn't print it at the right temperature because I left all my settings the same, and then I looked at the actual thing on the box and it said I should have printed it at a hotter setting. My bad. And so I've done that to myself. But otherwise, I really have had no bad luck with a specific type of filament. And I recently, at the candy store, they had a whole bunch they were showing for sale. And I was kind of like, ooh, I should just pick up some more. And so I did. I grabbed like 4 boxes where I was just going to get some regular PLA just to add more, different colors and such. But instead, I was like, oh, they have a flexible one. Oh, they've got a nylon that I've never printed with, which is a stronger version. Oh, they've got a glow-in-the-dark one that I have some before, but I'd try to play with some more. And they have a UV color-changing one. That could be fun. And so I had picked up a bunch of different types, essentially, of things that I want to now play with. It's been, I don't know, it's fun. I like it.
It's neat.
Yeah, and so I'm still a big fan of 3D printing. And it's fun because it has continued to get cheaper and cheaper. And so it's almost at a point where I'd say you could probably start looking at a sub $500 printer and be pretty happy with it. And go nuts. And so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So that's kind of what, I think that's all I have that's really been on the geek cred level of things. Like I said, 3D prints, stuff like that. I thankfully am not having to get ready for another con for a bit. I have other things to do, and so instead I get to focus on cosplay for a while. And you'll hopefully hear or see some progress things of me doing a lot of patterning and sewing and learning how to be better at being a seamstress type thing. And so we'll see. That's what I got going forward. All right. That's all I have in Geek Cred. Do you have anything else, sir, or can we switch over to looking at things newsworthy?
No, we can switch over.
Well, the music already has, so it's time for us to officially say.
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
And so, Ken, do you have anything for us that is newsworthy this week?
I've got a good few things, actually. There's quite a couple of interesting things. Quite a couple. Yes, there's quite a couple of interesting things. So the first one is one that I'm personally really excited for, because it's one of the few games I can still play, which is Hearthstone, which I still do enjoy. So they've announced a new expansion pack, and there's two articles I could have clicked on. One was like, oh, there's a new expansion pack announced. Then there's one that says the details. So I've clicked on the details one. It says here it's called Knights of the Frozen Throne, which I'm really excited for because it's my favorite expansion. Was the Wrath of the Lich King. It's just so good. It is reminiscent of Warcraft 3. It had great new. They really flexed their technology, improved the graphics, and they added a new class, which was really exciting, and not just races. And the whole quest scheme was beautiful and mature and just great. It was really, really enjoyable. Almost Game of Thrones-y in the way that some people died and likes. Nice. Really fantastic storyline. So they've unveiled this new Hearthstone expansion called Knights of the Frozen Throne. It's coming in August, and it'll take players to Northrend and give them 135 new cards to play with, including a new type of card, the Hero card.
Interesting.
There's one of these per class, so it's moving away from this quest idea, I think. And playing them sees the hero transform into a Death Knight version of themselves, an evil, undead version of themselves. Rexar, for instance, becomes Rexar Darkstalker. Playing his card will gain you armor, do AoE damage, and give you a new hero power that lets you stitch together a hideous chimera-like creature via a double discovery, where you choose two beasts and then fuse them into one, with all the stats combined. All the abilities represented in costing whatever the total mana cost is. You'll be offered Hunter and Neutral beasts at equal rates. They'll always be 5 mana or below, and the first pick is cards with text, the second with keywords or vanilla. So that's pretty neat. This will also be the first expansion that's paired with mission content, which was formerly the domain of Hearthstone's adventures. They'll take the form of 8 boss battles, so good, as players enter the Ice-Crowned Citadel and eventually face off against the Lich King himself.
Nice.
The Lich King is obviously one of the most significant and important elements of Warcraft lore, so seeing him in Hearthstone is a big deal for fans, as you can tell by how excited I am by this.
You do have quite a grin going on right now with this.
I'm pretty excited. It's a really cool thing. Really neat. The feel of this expansion as a whole is obviously a lot darker than something like Karazhan, dealing as it does with Death Knights and Lich King. So the author on IGN's article says he's very curious to see where Team 5 will take it. They'll be revealing more cards starting July 24th, but for now, they have a video that you can go read if you want to. Is there any more information? So I've seen some videos that come out from the Blizzard's Facebook page, which included one of Jaina talking about how she had this opportunity to take on the power and how she started hinting at how it's a bad thing that this should happen, and then she goes on to say that she took on the power and you shouldn't fear power, you should fear her. And it's pretty cool. It's just neat to see there's all these really interesting characters, all of them as Death Knights, and see how they deal with different situations, and how, what all their own emotes are going to be, and how, and I don't know, just lots of cool stuff. I'm really excited for that, and I think everybody else will be as well who likes Hearthstone, because it's a really cool opportunity for us to explore the lore of World of Warcraft in this neat new Hearthstone expansion.
Nice.
So, yeah, so that's that one. How are you doing with Hearthstone these days, sir? Are you still playing at all?
Oh, Hearthstone. Yeah, I don't remember last time I played that. I am so not a CCG player. And I was, so part of it, like one of the things that has reduced so much of my gaming too is still be working on my old iPhone 4S right now, because I still haven't tried to get a new phone. I'm kind of just waiting at this point. I'm in the point of I'm living with old technology. It can't run most games, and so that has limited me. I can't even run Pokemon Go on it, and so I haven't played that since my old phone died. But Hearthstone is one of those games that I'd never choose to play it like at the PC. Because if I'm at my PC, there are so many other things I could be playing that aren't Hearthstone. Like all of the games.
I can understand that,
Or
yeah.
I could be editing photos while watching, more episodes of Supernatural or something. Things like that. It's just so many things I could be doing that aren't Hearthstone. And so I just have not played it. I really haven't. I barely have followed it. I hear the noise or the discussion from other people. Like when you talked about, when Hando's talked about it, others where they've enjoyed it. But for me, I've just been like, Nah, not my thing. So I can't really speak to it. I'm bad.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Each to their own. You are. I would say you're missing out, but I'm sure you would disagree.
Again, like I said, it just hasn't been my thing, but that's okay. So, anything else on the Hearthstone update?
I could probably find some more information, but I'd say go look up yourself. The videos from Blizzard, etc., are very much worthwhile watching. They're sort of doing. It's not a full pure cinematic like the World of Warcraft expansions because they need that, right? It's more of that sort of almost 18th century puppeteering type in cinematic, which is still enjoyable, but it's not quite the same, obviously. But it's worth watching. Certainly worth watching.
All right, so, oops, that is not what I wanted to be looking at. Where did it go? There it is. Oh. So,
you gotta close all those Pornhub tabs before the show, man. Should have them open beforehand.
The challenge I have is when you click on a link in an email and realize that the link they sent you to is like their built-in link, even though they say it's just like, here's the YouTube link, but when you actually click it, it's a link to like this whole website-based thing behind it, not actually directly to the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, that's not what I want. I didn't want to add all this crap in here. And so, yeah, that. So there's that. But anyhow, no, what I was looking at is I wanted to talk about, I just got an email, and this is one of those things where it's nice to be on a PR list, essentially, or a news list for things, is I get these often in my email. I don't reference them nearly enough, and I apologize, everyone, for that. But essentially, they just talked about the embargo had been lifted, and so they got this email yesterday that there was news from TennoCon, and so this is for people who play Warframe. And it was fun because I had just had a discussion with a friend of mine about how he had stopped playing Warframe for the most part because nothing new had been happening and was going blah, and basically I've done all the missions, I played it too much. That same day, I get this email in my box from one of the various media outlet things that I get for gaming that said, the embargo has been lifted. Everyone can now enjoy the big news from TennoCon. And they have some links directly to essentially things for media with some stuff behind it. But the overall discussion is, for Warframe people, it says Warframe steps into the open with Plains of Eidolon expansion. And essentially, this came out of this London convention where they said that for the first time in Warframe history, Tenno will have the freedom to explore, fight, journey, and fly through the open landscapes. Warframe's first open zone of planet Earth in their own time is on our way. Stepping into the rolling Plains of Eidolon, players will experience a rich landscape populated with both familiar and never-before-seen creatures, enemies, a new Warframe, stunning vistas lit with a day-night cycle, and a gripping story told through the interactive NPC characters who inhabit this bustling scavenger city of Cetus. In Plains of Eidolon, players will set foot in a natural landscape with the freedom to explore it on their own terms. And so basically talk about right as people were getting at the edge of what they can do with Warframe, which is a beautiful game. It is like ninja parkour if you've never played it. Third-person ninja parkour. It's actually a ton of fun, and it's free to play, and you can do a ton of things in it. So if you see an action kick, it's fun. Well, that's the thing. It's not for everyone. I don't play it anymore. But when I did play, I was like, this is cool. It is super pretty, though. It's a great way to kind of just show off and run around. But they're opening up their first open zones. I'm curious, because I'm assuming there'll be some multiplayer there, whether this is almost like pushing them towards an MMO thing, or if it's just a bigger co-op world kind of thing with this one. So, wanted to throw it out there, and for those people who are interested in Warframe. All right, Ken, I know you have no interest in that. What else do you have?
So here's one that I actually, Ken was talking about today a little bit, and I feel like I should talk about just because I think others might be interested, even though I personally am not entirely due to my lack of faith. Fable Fortune release date delayed.
Okay.
Fable Fortune, the collectible card game set in the Fable universe, has been delayed to July 25th.
Wait.
The Fable.
We needed a collectible card game of Fable.
It's a cool idea if Fable was still run by anybody, reliable or worthwhile or whatever else. But it's not. So, yeah.
So you're saying you don't have the same level of enthusiasm for it as others?
No, just because they've not been doing everything okay, there's a few games they've released that I literally didn't realize were actually out because because they've gotten so bad publicity. They're rated really poorly online, and they're just not. It's not Lionhead anymore. You know, it's not. So who cares?
Fair.
As such, the Fable spin-off was previously scheduled to come out on PC in early access and Xbox One on July 11th, but due to an administration hiccup, developers Mediatonic and Flaming Fowl Studios aren't able to launch Xbox One version of the game next week. As such, in order to release the PC and Xbox One version simultaneously and make the most of the crossplay between the two platforms, which is the need to have an acceptable player base, I imagine, Fable Fortune's launch has been pushed back a few weeks. A Kickstarter for Fable Fortune, which started as a secret project following the closure of Linehouse Studios, launched last year. It ended quickly when the additional funding was secured to make the title a reality. It is free to play and features both player versus player and co-op gameplay and 6 heroes to choose from with a special set of powers. But who knows if it's going to have pay to win inside it, which is what I expect. Meh. For anybody interested.
No, that's
Ken's actually been playing through Fable 2 recently, so I've been watching her do that again.
Nice.
Which is a great game. Actually worth playing.
Well, so it's funny, because I never played any of the Fables. I always read the hype, and I thought they were interesting. I have trouble because there's games I need to play, like Tales of Zestiria, now that I'm doing a cosplay from it, so I can learn my character. But there's also some classics that I've never still experienced that I need to see, like, I don't know, all the other Zelda games that were done in 3D, since I've never really played through. I started playing Ocarina of Time for a bit, streamed it for a minute, and then haven't touched it for a long, long time. And I even went to the Symphony last week for it again, and was like, oh, all these songs, and I've heard the songs, but I have no idea what the importance behind them because I've never played these games. So I really feel like I need to eke out time to revisit other people's childhood, because I keep hearing how it's all amazing. Everyone tells me these games were phenomenal. I'm like, but 2D Zelda, right? And they're like, no. You know, it was all about the 3D hook shots and things. I'm just like, but I've never, I don't know. So, yeah, I need to go through a bunch of those. Also want to bring up, because it has been shared by Grayfield in the IRC, that there are rumors surfacing again about potential North America, meaning, United States and Canada, release of Phantasy Star Online 2 from Sega, the company that hates all people, as they have been hinting at a true English language version, servers actually hosted in North America version for years now, I'd say, and they still haven't done so, and said that the Taiwan and Southeast Asian servers have been shut down now that their contracts have ended, so the rest of the world is hype that it might mean that we'll finally get some word from Sega after 5 long years. Anytime I see those things, I definitely feel your pain and think of you, Grayfield, because I know you've been looking forward to that for more than a little bit of time. So, good luck, I hope. Anyhow, sir, do you have another one? I was actually looking through my emails for other potential updates for game specific.
I have one minor one here for anybody who feels interested in Rick and Morty. So Rick and Morty coming to Rocket League. It's a free customization item in Rocket League beginning July 5. So it should be available now, actually. As per an update on RocketLeague.com, Rick and Morty will be available as Antennas, Cromulon, Mr. Meeseeks, and Mr. PBH. Mr. PP Butthole will be available as toppers, and you will also be able to enjoy an interdimensional GB rocket boost and Sanchez DC-137 wheels. As a bonus, the Cromulon topper can drop as a painted item, which is cool. These items will be available as part of the common drops after offline and online matches, after the second anniversary update, which was on July 5th there, which is neat. Rocket League Radio will also introduce a new playlist, Rocket League X Monster Cat, featuring 18 new tracks from the EDM label. So that's interesting. I like Rocket League, and I like Rick and Morty, so that's neat to see.
Oh, absolutely. No, Rocket League's still one that I think a ton of people play. In fact, I saw it earlier today. I think Tom Bad Guy was playing it and getting on it, so that was fun. And it's one that it's still, if you have not played Carball, I think you are missing out, because it is, even for people who don't like sports games, who don't like car games, who don't like, I don't know, a ton of the genres it ticks over, it seems like everyone I know who's played it has enjoyed it. At least
I hate the genres that it encompasses, but I love this game. Just FYI,
Right?
everybody out there.
And so it's one that I think is absolutely worth your time to check out Rocket League if you haven't. It's just so good. So good. So, yeah. All right. I have another, let's see, it was a quick thing. This is just a notice for people who may not be aware. A couple things. One, was it Summer Games Done Quick is going on right now? Maybe finishing up. I forget when the schedule was. I know Grayfield should know. Tends to follow that closely. But when I was out at Matthew's, my con cousin's birthday yesterday, as they were celebrating, they had ADQ. It just finished. Okay, they had it up on the screen as they were playing it. And so, time I saw, they had raised like $1.5 million and such. And so it looks like it's over now. I didn't get the final number. I will ask Grayfield if you have it. It'd be nice to know how much they made in this one for a charity, because those guys are great. Also, commenting that it started, I think it was over this weekend, and I haven't gone back to see what happened with it, but I'm kind of curious to check it out, is that Quake, the new Quake World Championships, they had their first actual event. And so there is a newer version of Quake that is online, basically free to play. And this is the classic the original 3D FPS game out there for deathmatch and all that. If you haven't played Quake in some form, go try. But this one's out there, and they basically had their first competition that they hosted on Twitch. I haven't seen the results of it, but it's interesting because they're trying desperately to get Quake champions to become something anybody can play and something that anybody can compete in. And so it's one of those, if you're interested, you should check it out. It's granted, old school FPS, fast action, running around and just blowing people apart with shotguns and machine guns and rocket launchers, but it's kind of the core of what FPSing has been throughout its life. So I'd say check it out if you're interested. All right, sir, back to you.
Sure, I think I've got two more things I can bring up here. This one I'm not particularly interested in myself again, but it's something that I think others will be, and so it's worth bringing up. This is PlayerUnknown's, and this is because of the IRC, PlayerUnknown's Battleground new desert map shown off. Not desert map, desert map. It's not made of ice. It's not an ice cream bowl. A new development office for the game has been set up in Madison, Wisconsin, with that new team working on the map. Fans have been quick to point out the screenshots include a train and a bicycle. Could we be seeing an expansion to the game's roster of vehicles? As reported by Game Informer in May, 2 new maps are planned for Battlegrounds. The map is 4x4 kilometers ruined desert city. These images look to be taken from the center of the map. We're not seeing canyon set river that will run across the south and eastern edges. A third map is still planned, an 8x8 kilometer island in the Adriatic Sea that may feature a broken down Cosmodrome completed with a destroyed space shuttle. It's not clear when these maps will arrive, but it doesn't seem as though the one-map game is struggling without them. It recently hit 4 million copies sold, even before it arrives on Xbox and PS4.
Wow.
I'm not surprised. It's just such a fun idea. I love the idea of the game. I would be playing it if I could. It looks awesome.
God, we need to get you into a gaming rig, Ken. I need to send the old parts to you. That's all I do.
I don't need games to do a gaming podcast.
I was actually very much considering when I was looking at old parts. I was like, except for the snafu last time of actually putting what things were valued at and having you have to pay almost the same cost to get it for frickin' clothing, I was like, I could send you a box of computer parts and say, there, game. The challenge is that you'd probably have to pay just as much as buying it new because of your dang laws. I was actually thinking maybe it'd be cheaper if I bought a round-trip ticket out there, come visit for a week, drop off computer parts from my carry-on, and then come back.
Possibly. But don't worry about it, sir.
But you need to be gaming, Ken. This is wrong.
Dude, it's been the last 2 years of my PhD is the best time for this to happen in my life. It really is. And this is probably going to save my PhD twofold.
Maybe I can forward you a 3DS or something. I don't know. Just
no, it's all right. Don't worry.
Fine.
Very kind, but don't worry.
Fine. Just feels wrong. Anyhow. No, that's very cool. And we still need you to get gaming. I have another email release that I found, because that's exactly what I was looking for here. All these things that I normally just don't pass on. And it's like, I get all this news, and I read it in my email, and then I forget to tell people. This one, it says that for people who like the Total War series, and those that also like Warhammer 40k, or just Warhammer in this case, remember that they made Total War Warhammer. Well, Total War Warhammer 2 now has a release date. And it says the Deluxe Serpent God Edition is available for pre-order now, but the official release date for the next Total War Warhammer is going to be September 28th of this year. Set in a whole new part of the Warhammer world, it introduces 4 new playable races in a storming narrative campaign that builds to an earth-shattering crescendo. Let's see, what else do they say about this? They say in the God Edition that the artifact fit for a god, or at the very least a devoted Slan Mage Priest. The Serpent God Edition comes in a scaled turquoise presentation box, replete with stone effect glyphs modeled on Lord Mazdamundi's headpiece, detailing the temple cities of Lustria. True with reverence, lest you sully its magnificence. But it talks about all these things you get in there, including if you were to get the pre-order version, that it comes with a race pack for Total War. It comes with Stone Effect Puzzle Sphere, a carved Bone Effects Totem, an art book, embossed metal case, exclusive insider guide, sticker sheet, canvas map with Lizardman stylized artwork, and a hidden 8 gig or a necklace that has an 8 gig USB stick in it. So for people who want to go spend way too much money on a game that just got announced. But I do know a lot of people who really enjoyed Total War. And so just seeing that they finally announced it and that this new one's coming out should be interested. Along with, but a separate announcement about Total War Saga, or that's what it's called, says Creative Assembly announces a new class of Total War game. It says they have shared initial plans for a new class of historical Total War game that will launch under the badge of, quote, a Total War Saga. This new spin-off series will arrive with gamers... Oh, I gotta look at the time. Oh, we're almost out of time.
I know.
Gamers before the next major historical release in the franchise, promising a busy time for historical strategy fans. Similar scope to and focus of Fall of Samurai, the best-selling standalone follow-up to Shogun 2. The first Total War Saga will continue on from Rome 2 and Attila, presenting a thrilling new challenge in a focused geographical area. So for a little bit of news for people who are interested and like all of the Total War games. So please check those out. All right, with that, I think it is time for us to start wrapping things up. I know, Ken, we need to talk about the art contest. How much longer do we have on that? And I know I haven't participated yet.
I am not sure. I think it's the first of next month or whatever, the first Sunday of next month.
Because this is one of the ones where we're giving people more time to do. This is a longer one, but wanted to make sure we bring that up.
Good point. Yes.
Please check out the art contest. And other than that, Ken, lead us out of here.
Sure, you'll be listening to ShowX on VTWversions.com. Be sure to check us out on Twitter. I've been quite active there because I find it fun. You can find us on twitter.com/VTWShowX for the show itself, twitter.com/DocDead for Mr. Wayne here, and twitter.com/GoX for myself. You can find us also on Facebook, search for ShowX and find us there. You can also find us in several other places, including, but not limited to, patreon.com/ShowX. In there you can support us by sending us your pennies. Spare pennies, ones that you do not need, ones that you do not require, ones that you think, hey, these guys are pretty neat. I enjoy listening to them and their efforts every week, and I want to support the show going ahead. And you can do so by sending us those pennies and to the patreon.com/ShowX. You can also check out where else? You can check us out by sending in emails to showx@VTWversions.com. And you can also check us out our Facebook page. But I think that's everything. So thank you very much for having me on the show, sir. It's been good fun.
Well, and thank you very much for being on the show, Ken. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, as we had a mostly, technically, almost working show. And like I said, I will do my best to try to get things caught up so that people who listen to the audio can catch up on the shows as well. But if not, please tell everyone to go check out the YouTube channel. Follow that because it will always be there. And so with that, you've been listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com, and we are out of here. You guys have a good week, and we will catch you again next time. Thank you, everybody.
See you in the next zombie. Good night. Also, God.